Let's Be Heard, round two of the Bob Grant program. Let's get back to our busy telephones and say hello to Jeremy. Hello, Jeremy. You're on the Bob Grant program.
Bob?
Yes, what's on your mind, Jeremy?
Bob, I don't get it. I don't understand how the Israelis can claim they want peace when you look at how they deal with the Arabs. Let me give you an example. Did you see the piece in yesterday's news?
Hold on a minute. Listen, you better get your facts straight before jumping to conclusions. You talk about the Arabs. Do you know what the average Israeli-Arab standard of living was before 1948? Have you seen the new Arab housing built with Israeli government subsidies? Do you know there are democratically elected Arab representatives in the Israeli parliament? Can you imagine Jews being allowed to participate in the government bodies of Egypt or Syria or Jordan? Are you aware that Israel has offered to dismantle the refugee camps and build modern housing for the Arabs, but the United Nations has refused repeatedly to allow them? Hey, if you want to speak intelligently about events in the Middle East, it's not enough to read the papers and watch the TV news. Look, I've been to Israel many times and met the people who make the news. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye. I've been fascinated with Israel ever since the day it became a state. In fact, that day, May 14th, 1948, was the very day I began my broadcasting career back in Chicago. And I remember reading that news item on the air. The historic vote in the United Nations that day was the culmination of 2,000 years of struggle for the Jewish people to return to their ancestral homeland. In 1918, with the Balfour Declaration acknowledging the right of Jews to settle in the Holy Land, the Zionist dream had begun to come true. But it was still a long and bloody uphill battle. 10 years later, Jewish settlements were decimated by Arab massacres. 10 years after that, the British White Paper severely limited Jewish immigration. And when Israel finally did become a state, it was the beginning of a new phase in the struggle, as the Arabs pledged to drive Israel into the sea. It is a conflict which continues to this day. Living in America, where we've never experienced the ravages of war, it's difficult to comprehend and even more difficult to feel what it's like to live in a constant state of siege. Now, maybe the best way to get some perspective on the Israeli reality is to trace it back even before the birth of Israel in 1948. Because the Jewish state rose out of the ashes of the worst nightmare in the history of mankind, the Holocaust. I'm standing here at Yad Vashem. In Hebrew it means hand of the names, or memorial of the names. What names? The names of 6 million people who died in the Holocaust. 4 million adults, 2 million children. These are people who died in the Nazi death camps. And if anybody has any idea that maybe it isn't all true, that maybe it didn't quite happen that way, all they have to do is come here, in Jerusalem. And the question is, why? Why does Israel keep this memory alive? Why do Jews memorialize this horrid event? And the answer is quite simple. First of all, the Jewish people have vowed that these people would never be forgotten. And secondly, they know that only by remembering what happened in the past can we hope to prevent the same tragedy from happening in the future. The crimes of the Nazis were barbaric, unspeakable. The widely publicized trial and execution of Adolf Eichmann in 1961 could hardly avenge the death of the 6 million. Nor is the conviction of Ivan the Terrible, John Demjanjuk, or the ongoing search for other Nazi war criminals still at large,